It used to tell you that it's recording. We used to have a voice in that. We called that our Zoom collect. So, but we don't have that anymore. So, Cheryl and
Yeah.
Helen, tell us about the work of Global Ecumenical Partnerships.
Well, I guess it's okay, Reverend Cheryl, I'll jump in first.
Yes.
So first of all, we just want to thank you for inviting us to speak with you. It's really important to us and to our colleagues to be able to have these kinds of conversations and just to answer as many questions as we can. So thanks for inviting us to this time. It sounds like it's a regular meeting when you come together. And as you know, we've shifted from what was World Mission in March to a new ministry area that Reverend Cheryl and I are both managers in, called Global Ecumenical Partnerships. So that's kind of baseline what's important to know. I think it might also be helpful for us to ask you, have you seen the Presbyterian News Service articles that went out in February and March about changes? There were probably somewhere between 5 and 7 articles between maybe the end of January and into the end of March, ranging on kind of some ideas around the movement, why, in terms of having a new model and seeking a new model, but also financial sustainability and other topics as well. So if that isn't familiar to you, we can send you those links. I think I have them in an email that I've sent to other people just as some points of information.
Send them to me, Ellen. I'll make sure everybody gets them.
Okay. So essentially, what I think to just baseline what we're able to share with you today mainly is that within this Global Ecumenical Partnerships body, this new thing, this new ministry that Reverend Cheryl and I are both managers in, Reverend Cheryl manages the Global Ecumenical Liaisons, who are based in the United States, and also some colleagues who are called Intercultural Congregational Associates. They're also based in the United States. And I supervise and manage a team of Global Ecumenical Liaisons who are based internationally. And have some also touch points with the International Young Adult Volunteer Site Coordinators. So there's a handful of young adult volunteer site coordinators who are international YAV site coordinators. I don't supervise them. They are supervised under the Young Adult Volunteer Program, but they connect with the work that Reverend Cheryl and I do. So that's just kind of the broad view. And we are still kind of in a season of making our way forward. And what's just a reality and a challenge is that the Interim Unified Agency is also in a time of change. So we're in this bubble, I guess you could call this ministry area called Global Ecumenical Partnerships, which is part of a staff team of a few other office areas. And then within that, we are in a much bigger universe of the Interim Unified Agency. By, at some point before GA next year, we expect it will have a name and identified clearly its values, its priorities, its vision, its mission, and all of those things. So just a reality that I want to name, and then I'll pass the mic over to Reverend Cheryl if you want to, whatever you want to add, or open it up to you all for more questions. It's slow going. We're a part of a small fish in a much bigger pond, if not a lake. And so we're moving forward with our work as we're able, and we're aware that a lot of it we have to keep checking back with the bigger fish.
The bigger fish in the pond. We're kind of
bigger fish in the pond. They've got other things going on, and they're trying to figure out the shape of the pond, and does it, where is it located, and what does it look like, and how big is it, and what shape is it taking? So I don't know. And that's I think kind of baseline. I think what I feel like the two of us can really bring to you, and we're open to your questions, but it is a time of a lot of change. I just want to say Reverend Cheryl, I've had other conversations like this, and we recognize that there's a lot of different feelings around what's transpired, ranging from concern or grief over what's not happening anymore or what's been left behind. As you know, we no longer have mission co-workers, and both Reverend Cheryl and I used to be mission co-workers. So we understand what is different about what we're doing now in relation to those roles. And there's other people I've spoken with who are really excited about the possibilities for the future. So we've heard a kind of range of feelings from congregational leaders, mid-council leaders, and others. And I've talked a lot, so I'm going to be quiet now and see if you would like to jump in, Reverend Cheryl, please.
Well, you've opened it up very clearly, and I appreciate that, Reverend Ellen. I just want to emphasize that there's been a lot of questions about whether we are still part of a mission activity as an organization. And I want to assure you that we are, that we're still following the Presbyterian Student Mission and Partnership information that was produced in 2003. What is happening is that we are evolving in mission. We're looking at developing deeper relationships with our partners and with our constituents. I'm managing the US side, and we've never had an agency that specifically built relationships just with constituents, with synods and presbyteries and congregations and donors, just specifically for them and with them. So all of that has to be fleshed out. What will it look like? How can we best utilize the staff that we currently have to spread across the US, for example? And how can we build more equitable structures and involve a bigger collaborative group of people in what this new form of mission will look like? If you have ever been involved in creating something new, you know that a lot of things have to be dismantled in order for a new thing to come forth. And with that dismantling, as Reverend Ellen alluded to, there's grief with that. You know, we were comfortable, we were happy, we were doing what we believed was God's mission. And then the Holy Spirit comes along and say, well, let's try a new thing. Let's try to do it in a way that involves more people, individuals, and groups who possibly never thought of themselves as being a mission co-worker. But there are people in congregations and in communities all across the United States who need to see themselves as mission co-workers, and not just the 60 people that were sent out, because we can do mission now here in the US, and also think about a new way to be in partnership with our colleagues and our friends in international settings. So all of it is still evolving. And the frustrating thing is that people as yourselves who have been so committed to doing mission are looking for news. You're looking for some kind of structure to be given to you. You're looking for some way to start doing this new thing. And it's hard to tell you that because the new thing is still in the design phase. And I know that's not probably what you want to hear, but it's actually the truth. We can't share anything that we're going to have to retract in 6 months because it wasn't yet complete. So we are still at that point, and we're working really hard to bring something to you and to all of our constituents and international partners that is sustainable, that is relatable, and that will eventually show us that the Holy Spirit is always right and what the Holy Spirit guides us to do.
I think I want to make sure we're clear. I mean, what really caught my attention in your work is just the word ecumenical. Because we are very interested here in ecumenical issues. John Hoffman, that's on this call, is a member of a United Lutheran Presbyterian parish. Someone who wanted to be here but can't be here is pastor of the Presbyterian Church in Rome, New York, but she herself is Lutheran. Their sanctuary was destroyed last year by a tornado, so they're now worshiping in an Episcopal church. So we are very interested in ecumenical partnerships and what we might do to foster the environment where that can take place.
That's a great way to think about the new work. Ecumenical does include different organization, agencies, denominations. And that still has how we bring these different organizations into the work of the Interim Unified Agency and Global Ecumenical Partnerships is still in the development phase. But I do know and understand that we are looking to be faithful to that word ecumenical. We are looking to use that word as part of the work, that we're not trying to be siloed into this is only for Presbyterians or this is only for people that are in a different continent. This new Global Ecumenical Partnerships, we're throwing our arms out and we're looking at advocacy groups, for instance. That's one of the things that it's on my plate, that I really want to have conversation with people who are not necessarily in a mainline denomination, but do the work of Christ, do the advocacy work of Christ. And how can we partner with them? How can we strengthen their work and possibly expand what it means to be Presbyterian, especially for our younger generation who are looking for a place to plant their feet in an organization, in a denomination that speaks to their cries for justice and their cries for support of those who are being marginalized. So all of those things are a part of the conversation. Larry, thank you for bringing that up. And I want to share and stress with you that that is still a very, very important part of how this design is going to take place.
Tell us more about that. Maybe if you could share, you shared a couple of examples, Larry, and I wonder if you or others could tell us a little bit more about the ecumenical work that's carried out in your presbytery.
Yeah, and I'm going to yield my time to Scott Leonard because the Stone Church in Clinton has a robust ministerium. Is that collegium? Is that what you call it, Scott?
Yes, previous minister, Dennis Dewey, came up with ministerium because he's a wordsmith kind of a guy.
Ministerium?
Ministerium.
Oh, ministerium. Okay.
Not a mystery, but M-I-N.
Sounds rather ethereal, though. So.
Yeah, it does.
Run with it.
It's highfalutin for us country folk. Yeah, so what started many years ago, a couple of decades ago, was just some of the area pastors getting together, for basically coffee, if you will, and just, sharing and, sharing some time together. And then in the past 15 or 20 years, if you will, we started to become somewhat more formal from a standpoint of we started to meet monthly, and we started to have some programmatic activities, beginning not only with ecumenical activities, but also community activities. So, for example, we have typically an annual Blue Christmas, or longest night service. That's an ecumenical service. And then we'd have Good Friday, a noon service, which is ecumenical. And we'd have a Easter sunrise service, which is ecumenical out on our village green. And then we've also been doing a Lenten study series, typically meet once a week for 5 weeks. That's also ecumenical. And then on a community kind of a basis, our big thing has been of late is, over the past 10 years, is doing what we call a community collection day. And it started off just collecting food for the local country pantry. And then it just got expanded bit by bit to collect other things. So for example, we'll collect recyclables for electronics. And the Methodist Church tends to have their people with trailers take care of that. And then the Clinton and the Lions Club, collecting eyeglasses and hearing aids and such. And then the library wanted to get in on the act, to collect books for their book sale. And then the pool wanted to collect bottles in return for their items. And then we had Boy Scouts or student council kids collecting trash that's in and around the green. It's kind of a cleanup thing. And we've had the Clinton High School Environmental Club, also collecting this year, I think, used socks and such like that. And all in exchange for a donation to the country pantry. So even during COVID, we're able to maintain doing this because the way we have it set up, became more of a drive-by. Drive-by, we'll get the stuff out of your trunk or whatever. You hand over a bag of food or money, for the donation of the country pantry, and it became a community-wide activity. So that's, while it's ecumenically sponsored, it's a community-wide activity in addition to the other ecumenical worship things that we do. And it's all, I'll say, voluntary from a standpoint of we have the Methodist Church, the Episcopal Church. We don't have a Lutheran church in Clinton, but the chaplain at Lutheran Care retirement community is active. And then the priest at the St. Mary's Catholic Church, and then a couple of others that have rolled on or off that have been in adjacent ministries at the Presbyterian home and such like that. And so, for example, the Catholics typically do not participate in the worship services for, their, parochial, reasons, but are very active in the Lenten study series or the community, activities, or people just aren't available for a Labor Day services, another one that we do. So it's encouraged, but not required. And also allows us as the ministers to come together once a month to, I think the technical word is kvetch, about, things going on in our, reflecting our Jewish roots, reflecting on what's going on in our lives and our parishes and such like that, and the world in general. And to share different things going on and participate in different activities. So that's what we've been doing as, ecumenically, that way. And like I say, for many years, and we've had rotating, obviously ministers tend to come and, rotate, through and such. And so we've been able to maintain that with, we frankly had the last person rotate out, Jeff McGarn, when he was the chaplain at Hamilton College and no longer was. So we've managed to make it, I hate to say institution because that's a bad word these days, but it has become, part of our culture such that as new ministers come in, we manage to keep it, keep the ministerium, if you will, continuing to grow.
Scott, do you mind putting your email in the chat? I would love to maybe have some more conversation with you. I think that's an excellent model that can be shared across other presbyteries. But what you've just described sounds exactly like something that I would love to see other presbyteries be engaged in, that kind of work. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah, no, my pleasure. And I'm a commissioned pastor at Stone Church, not ordained. But then again, I mentioned that partially because we have had other members, if you will, the ministerium. We had a sister of the Catholic Church many years ago before she passed, participate, or like I say, they're in ministries that aren't parish necessarily, but are active in the community. And again, they roll in or roll off depending on what's going on, in their paths of what's happening, and so things to shrink and grow. But we've always tried to be encouraging. In fact, we've had some people say, like, hey, I'm, working at the Presbyterian home. Why can't I join? I go, just show up.
Yeah.
Here's the email. Just come. Or their lives change. Say, yeah, well, I can't participate anymore because, obviously they're moving or doing something like that.
It's
And
wonderful.
I can actually send you if you want. I mean, if you email me back, I can send you. I do minutes every month of when we meet of what's going on. I can send you some examples that, particularly the one I just sent out that talks about A, what we've done, and B, kind of like what we expect to be doing next year, and that kind of gives you a one-shot overview.
That
That's
sounds
much shorter
great.
than my speaking that I've been doing so far.
Well, I'm going to put my email in the chat, and then we can
Sure.
communicate. Thank you for sharing.
I'll put mine in the chat as well in a minute. What other things do you want us to know about your presbytery, or what questions do you have for us? I'm not sure we'll be able to answer everything, but we'll do our best. But so either things you want to share with us that you think is just good for us to know as this work model gets developed, and questions.
Well, one thing I would bring up, I think somewhat unique to the Utica Presbyteries, stepping on Larry's toes here, is we have a pretty active lay ministry. Again, we have a number of commissioned pastors. That's been working out very well for us. We have a pretty good mixture, well, Mike and I, of both the commissioned pastors, but of course ordained, and we work very well together and cooperatively and supplement each other, so to speak, complement each other, if you will. And that has worked well for us, not just in our parish ministries, but again, in things like our ministerium or other activities that we have going on. We have, of course, a number, like all presbyteries, we have a number of activity, things going on in the communities that we have. And that has helped also because there's a different group of people that you're working with, right? Because most of our commissioned pastors have also are in other, I have a day job, for example, or in other activities. And so it's another way of reaching out in a broader community. For example, in my particular church, we've also been working with the refugee center here in Utica called the Center. And we've also had a couple, Mark Corona, who just retired as a minister up in Whitesboro, was on the board there and such. So there are ways that we've been trying to get involved on those kind of aspects as well, beyond, just pure parish, if you will. Not that we do that as well.
In the community. Michael, thank you. It looked like, Michael, you were about to maybe say something too.
Yeah, I had a question. So I was interested initially in the process, and I think you've explained the time frame in that, but as somebody who is a pastor, a presbytery leader, and a synod staff member, I'm wondering how those different levels can provide some information or feedback during this process that would maybe strengthen these partnerships as you move forward.
I think that's a great question. The answer is, I don't know if Reverend Cheryl has an answer. I'm not really sure. And I feel like there's nothing stopping us from just having conversations like this one. And I've had several kind of just one-on-one conversations as well with different mid-council leaders in particular. And I'm sure Reverend Cheryl has as well. So, and I'm just gonna, Reverend Cheryl, maybe we can just also again, put our titles or what is the work that each of us is involved with in the chat. So
Micah, can you flesh out your question a little bit more for me?
Yeah, so as you're going through this discernment process of where this is all going to go, and you have an emphasis on building the partnerships with primarily maybe presbyteries and synods more than the churches, but how can we as presbyteries or synods provide input to help with this, to make the overall thing one that has participation from those that you want partnerships with?
Okay, okay. You know, and a lot of this is really going to depend on, because I heard you mention timeline. A lot of it is really going to depend on when the new model is rolled out, for lack of a better word. And as the rollout happens, or as information is shared, we can use that time to gather information, because it would be present. You know, we would be putting the horse in front of the cart, or the cart in front of the horse, however you say it, to start trying to determine what we will be doing without having the model actually given to us from leadership. But as Reverend Ellen has said, you know, we can continue to have conversations, you know, just what Scott has shared, what other presbyters or Senate leaders can share. I can build that into kind of like a database, so that as the model is defined, we can start taking that information and building a model that we can use in the US. So I hope that helps in answering the question.
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it does tremendously. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think we're also ecumenical, I think, spans a vast subject.
Yeah.
We are also interested in relationships with other faith traditions that are in this area. On this call a few months ago, we hosted Dr. Leonard Grobe, who is a Holocaust scholar, that came and spoke with the group. There's somebody that is usually on the call that is not here today, but he is on the board of the Interfaith Coalition of Greater Utica. So that group gathers at least once a month, and from a variety of different faith traditions. Jewish, Buddhist, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So we want to maintain relationships with all of those groups. I think what a presbytery meeting that we had several years ago, the theme for that meeting was our love for God. And we had a Jewish rabbi, a Muslim imam, and a Roman Catholic priest speak to us about
Wow.
love of God from their traditions.
That's amazing. Wow.
It was a very, very powerful time together. So we are very interested in reaching across all manner of lines.
That's really powerful. I just to be able to imagine how we can not be siloed ecumenically is something that makes me smile. I think the impact of looking at ourselves as followers of Christ, as opposed to looking at ourselves with the label of the denomination, will make a big difference in how people perceive Christian and believers. So yeah, that's good stuff, Larry.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I guess, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around a little bit the change you guys are doing with this ecumenical activity and interim committee. What's been what do you see has been your I'll say impediments, but I'm gonna make it challenges, you know,
Scott, your audio went out on us.
Oh.
You're not muted. Try it again.
Good, unmuted.
There you go.
We're not hearing you.
I can.
Unmute yourself.
I'm muted. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, I think
All
it
right.
was just an internet glitch for a second.
Yeah, sorry. So what's been
I
with
lost.
this seems it's a major change. What's been biggest challenge or
Oh,
resistance
wow.
that you guys have had relative to this, interim ecumenical activities you're trying to do with Global Ecumenical?
Well, I think kind of like what I said, I'll just jump in really quickly, Reverend Cheryl, if you
Mhm.
don't mind.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Kind of like what I said for me, at least at the beginning, what I mentioned we are in the midst of change in this smaller body that we're a part of and that we're leading within a much bigger body that's that's changing and hasn't landed on what it's going to be. So that just is as it is. And what also it means is, we need to hold some of what we're doing kind of lightly and just try to always keep in sync with one another and what the bigger body, what the bigger agency is doing. So I might start down a pathway of doing some work with the international Global Ecumenical Liaisons, but I also need to be mindful of obviously what Reverend Cheryl's working on here in the US. So she and I work closely together. But even with that, it's not enough. The big agency that we're a part of doesn't even have a new name yet, much less set priorities. And that might not be for some months. I mean, I would guess by the early next year, if not before, because they'd have to be ready to report back to GA next year, right? But that's just challenging because it means there's a lot of different people involved at different levels. And we have to be kind of always checking back in. And maybe there's things that we might decide to do and start doing that we're going to have to let go of or change down the line as well. So just having to be super flexible is what I would say is our challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of like having a big tent, but it's not quite staked down yet. So we know that something is happening and it's all going to come together. But, we might have to move the stakes or shift them a little bit before. And the part of what Reverend Ellen said is we can't commit something that we pull back from. We want to be able to commit and be able to stand on that, even if some of the parameters change, even if some of the boundaries change. We might need to expand or pull back, but the model, we want to be able to commit to the model and how it aligns with the Interim Unified Agency, or what our new agency will be called.
The phrase we use quite a bit here, putting a stake in the jello. So, sounds like you're trying to get the jello to firm up to put a stake in it. So
That's perfect. That's perfect.
So, well, let us offer this to you. The Presbytery of Utica and the Presbytery of Northern New York will gladly stand as thought partners in this exercise.
Thank you.
We welcome you. Thank you so much.
So, Paul, you already going to make a connection with Scott, but you're welcome to get in touch with us anytime.
Thank you. You all have been a delight to have this discussion with, and we just really appreciate your support, and we ask again for your continued prayers.
Duly noted. Thank you for your generosity with your time. We customarily end with a blessing, but I read an essay from Abraham Joshua Heschel this morning that seems fitting. Dialogue must not generate into dispute, into an effort on the part of each to get the upper hand. It is neither to flatter nor to refute one another, but to help one another, to share insight and learning, to cooperate in academic ventures on the highest scholarly level, and what is even more important, to search in the wilderness for well springs of devotion, for treasures of stillness, for the power of love and care for man. What is urgently needed are ways of helping one another in the terrible predicament of here and now, by the courage to believe that the word of the Lord endures forever, as well as the here and now, to cooperate in trying to bring about a resurrection of sensitivity, a revival of conscience, to keep alive the divine sparks in our souls, to nurture openness to the spirit of the Psalms, reverence for the words of the prophets, and faithfulness to the living God.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for that blessing. It's beautiful. May we remain faithful to that word that you just shared.
If you can share that by email, I would appreciate, I want to have that.
I will gladly do so.
So I want to like read it again and again. There's a lot in it that really
Gladly do so.
And
meaningful.
we might use it as long, and we might also use staking the jello. So I just want you to know.
Just, you have my email address, so you know where to send the royalties when you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, friends. Will the Lord be with you?
Thank
And
you.
also
Dr.
with you.
Blessings to you all. Thank you
You
so
know.
Thank you
much.
so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.